Digital marketing is really the foundation of how you're doing business and getting customers online nowadays. I look at marketing as the investment in your future customers. It's really, really important that as you invest in your business over time, you get a really good handle on all the different places you're spending and exactly how much it costs to bring in a customer from each of those individual locations. I believe it is the responsibility of the franchisor to make sure that these franchisees have the tools that they need so that they can have enough customers coming in. And if you've got a sheet of 100 franchisees and you know that you've got 20 that are in the red, it's very easy for somebody like me to work with a franchisor and say, we need to run more digital to these people, get more customers coming in so that we can have a much happier overall organization.
John Lincoln has built an incredibly successful digital marketing business. He works with some of the biggest names in franchising. We're talking titans in the industry like Neighborly and Driven Brands. He's authored 3 books on marketing, including his latest book, Advolution: How to Build a Systematic, Self-Improving, and Future-Proof Digital Marketing Program. Now, he's produced and is the director of 2 movies on marketing. Not only that, he's built his marketing company from just him and his co-founder 10 years ago to over 140 employees. He also has over 250,000 followers between his social media accounts, so he's proof that what he talks about works. We'll dive into specific marketing tactics that can help you grow your revenue and scale your business. We also dive into AI, what's going on with AI right now, and how the everyday business owner like yourself can use it in simple ways to make your life easier and to grow and scale your business. Make sure you got something to take notes with and sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. All right, so welcome to the Franchise Empire Show. I'm here with John. John, thanks for coming on board today, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So cool. So you are in the digital marketing space. You've got some amazing credentials, which I've just talked about in the intro, about your background, the fact that you're an author of many books. So you own a digital marketing company. For people in the industry, they may know what that means, but can you just talk about what exactly does that mean to the everyday business owner in their language, and why is that important to them?
Yeah, well, especially in the context of this show, we serve, many franchisees, well over 1,000. And for me, digital marketing is really the foundation of how you're doing business and getting customers online nowadays. So there's a couple different channels when it comes to digital marketing. There is organic, which is, just basically having traffic come in from Google that you're not paying for. There is paid media, so you're running ads through all the different channels. There is email marketing. There's social media marketing. There is programmatic and a couple other channels as well. But in general, digital marketing is the way online to attract customers to your business. And it's a huge field that I've been in now for almost 20 years. And it's a great way to get customers.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, marketing it's really a fascinating topic for me. I always love the operational side of things. That's where I had naturally gravitated towards. And then once I started the YouTube channel, then I started to get more into marketing. But one of the things I find interesting, John, that I started to learn was that the most successful entrepreneurs figured out a way to master marketing, whether they personally mastered it or whether they were able to recruit talent, that mastered it. But I started to realize that the folks who focus on having the back end perfect and the fulfillment perfect and the operations perfect, well, none of that really matters if you can't get customers, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I look at marketing as the investment in your future customers, and, in doing business for a long time. And, we're a 6-time Inc. 5000 company. I believe with the right modeling, you can accurately predict the amount of customers that you're going to have coming in and then know how you're going to serve them operationally. So, it's really, really important that as you invest in your business over time, you get a really good handle on all the different places you're spending and exactly how much it costs to bring in a customer from each of those individual locations.
Yeah. incredibly important. What's interesting when my wife and I opened our first franchise location, we knew nothing about marketing or how to. Well, my wife has owned a business for a long time, but I didn't know how to market a juice and smoothie franchise. And at the time, this was back in 2017. I guess it was still the point where franchisors really hadn't fully embraced digital marketing yet. And so I just kind of fumbled around on Instagram and started targeting people within a 5-mile radius of our store and filtering, for people that were into health and different things like that, and doing it more from a branding perspective. But it was interesting how effective it was where, in the beginning, I was in the store for 12, 14 hours a day, and I'd ask people, how did you wind up coming across us? How do you know they were open? I saw you guys on Instagram. So I thought that was really interesting. But then if we look at, so our YouTube channel, our current business, we built the business completely organically. Pretty much 98% of our clients we've gotten through just the organic channel. But the challenge that created was that we had no control over scale and how we scaled up that business. So for the everyday business owner who's in their business, they know they want to scale their business, right? How are they able to? Can you walk us through maybe the pros and cons of the different marketing channels and how they may be able to figure out what's right for them at that point in time?
Sure. So most people start with social media marketing. That's the easiest thing. You just jump right in. You start posting on Instagram. You start posting on YouTube. You start posting on TikTok. You start posting on Twitter. And then they realize that their customers need to find them online. So the next thing they get into is search engine optimization. They start thinking about, am I showing up in Google? Am I showing up inside of Bing? Am I showing up inside of the maps? And then they realize that that's good. And they're getting some customers from social media and they're getting some customers from search engine optimization, but they kind of hit this plateau where maybe they're doing well, but they want to grow more. And so that always eventually leads into the next one, which is generally email marketing, which is they have their existing customer base and they start sending emails to their existing customers. They're trying to re-engage their existing customers. And then they kind of hit a plateau there and they think, well, what should I be doing next? And the next thing, which is really where everybody eventually ends up, is paid media. And so paid media for a local business generally starts with Google search. That's the highest demand. So somebody's actually searching for your product or service. They come in, they click on the Google ad, they go to your page, and then they sign up or they find your location. Then they'll generally go into local service ads, which is another really great place to advertise. And then eventually they get to this point where they've maxed out all the demand-based paid media areas. So somebody's doing a search and then they're showing up. They max all of that out. And then they realize that I've got this great database. What I mean by database, I mean all of your customers. I mean all of the people who you have their phone number, who you have their email address. And then in addition to that, one of the things we've had for the last 3 or 5 years is cookies as well. So all the people who have been to your web page that you've cookied them. And what you can do with these two things is you can run.
What does that mean for people that don't know cookied them? What does that mean?
So if you don't know what a cookie is, when somebody goes to a page, you can essentially track that user and then you can serve them ads throughout the internet. And this has been a really big debate in digital marketing, but it's been one of the foundational ways that people have been able to run ads throughout the internet after somebody comes to a web page. That's changing a little bit now, and there's some new privacy standards that are going in place, but there's still going to be ways to what we call remarket or retarget your customers. But at the end of the day, the evolution is really, you start in social, you get into SEO, you get into email marketing, you get those 3 channels working for you. Then you get into paid media, you start in search, and then you eventually go to all the different areas of paid media, including the ones I discussed, but also ones such as Facebook and all the different meta properties, Instagram, YouTube, and it kind of continues to go on from there. At the end, where everybody ends up once they've got a really, really big budget and they're huge, is they start getting into programmatic OTT, television, and radio. And that's really kind of that upper funnel thing. So that's the evolution of digital. And if you play it right, and you're kind of systematic about it, you can have a really low cost the entire way and get customers the entire way, and then fuel the business the right way until you eventually get to the point where hopefully, you've got 100 franchise locations, you're running, tens of thousands of dollars around each location, depending on how big it is. And you've got plenty of customers coming in. And then the next thing that happens is you get to this point where you just need more employees, which is a whole nother thing that you can do digital for.
That's a quality problem at that point, right? When you're growing so quickly that you're scrambling trying to hire people.
So I get multiple emails a week from companies asking to run ads on the podcast. I could have ads if I wanted to, but I don't. So there are two ways that you can help to support me and the podcast to keep it ad-free. First is to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment, even a smiley face if you have nothing to say. The YouTube algorithm only shows the video to more people based on the likes and comments on the video. So your comment could help someone get exposed to this, and not to sound too cheesy, but it could legitimately change their life. Lastly, go ahead and share this with someone that you think will enjoy this episode. Maybe someone who loves business and entrepreneurial stuff, or maybe it's someone who's been saying that they want to own their own business for forever. You can message it to them directly or share it on your social media. It would mean the world to me. You guys rock. Enjoy.
So what's interesting to me is that the franchise space it's overall pretty fragmented in terms of marketing. And what I mean by that is you have maybe some franchisors that have specific digital marketing vendors that they require the franchisees to use, or even the franchisors have the contract and then the franchisees are paying back the franchisor for, that agency to just execute on their behalf. Then you have some franchisors where they just let the franchisees do their thing. Maybe they have the ad creatives that are maybe already prepped and standardized, but it's, hey, you can go hire whoever you want. And then you have other franchisors where they're just like, you can kind of do whatever you want, but we have to approve it. And so I guess, what are you seeing in the franchise space, with some of your clients, and, how can the everyday franchisee who may not have the liberty to be as flexible in what they do as a standard business owner, how can they capitalize?
So you're right, it is fragmented right now. And for me, that's a huge issue and a competitive advantage for the people who are doing it right. In my opinion, you really need to attach national strategies to local. So you're taking that overarching national thing that made, this franchise successful in the first place, the branding, the digital marketing, all of these great things, and then bringing it down to the local level, and then ensuring that you have quality standards. Because when you do that, then you're able to take the power of all the different locations as well as national, match it all together, and have a much, much more successful program. So I would encourage people to do that. I really see people fail quite a bit when they try to hire some individual, freelance digital marketing expert who, hey, I've been there in the past, before I started this business. So I fully support people, trying to get clients and things like that. But in the context of a national to local franchise that has, tens or hundreds or thousands of locations, in my opinion, that's completely the wrong way to approach it, because, you'll have somebody doing strategies that actually could end up hurting the overall organization. Things are looking off brand on social media. They're not doing SEO the right way. They're running the only type of paid media that they know how to run, which really doesn't bring you in qualified leads. So there's really a right way to do this, a systematic way to do it. And that involves setting up tracking that goes all the way down to the final sale. That involves setting up data visualization so that everybody can see where all the customers are coming in from. And that involves setting up a cost per customer for each of the digital marketing channels, and then setting up a framework so that you can scale that when the individual location needs business. And then the final thing is, really for any franchise, you need to have a list of every single one of them. And then you need to know the ones that are in the green that are crushing it and the ones that are in the red that are not doing well. And I believe it is the responsibility of the franchisor to make sure that these franchisees have the tools that they need so that they can have enough customers coming in. And if you've got a sheet of 100 franchisees and you know that you've got 20 that are in the red, it's very easy for somebody like me to work with a franchisor and say, we need to run more digital to these people, get more customers coming in so that we can have a much happier overall organization. So that's the way that we approach it. And I will say it's different for every different stage of a franchise. When you're just getting started, you're figuring things out. And in the context that I'm talking about here, it's generally more mature franchises that have been around for a while. And they realize that they get to this point where they really want to have everything working together really well for the organization.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's interesting. I definitely agree. I think that some of the franchisors that are doing the best now are starting to take over more and more, not take over, but support the franchisees in more and more. Some of them are centralizing call centers now for those leads that come in, so that the franchisees then just pay a percentage of sales or a flat monthly fee. They don't have to train those call center employees. There's a duplicatable and systematic process that occurs. And I definitely think what you're saying is true, that if the franchisors handled, lead generation and those things at the franchisor level, it would make it easier for the franchisees. The challenge is that a lot of them don't. So for the average franchisee who maybe owns maybe 1, 2, or 3 locations, what do they need to know? Or, they're kind of like more of the mom and pop version in the franchise space. Maybe they own, a smoothie place, or I actually have a buddy who owns a couple of budget blinds territories, right? So how can they approach the digital marketing if they're not getting that centralized support from the franchisor?
That's a good question. And, I'm obviously biased because I've worked really hard through our company, Ignite Visibility, to set up a program where we work hand in hand with franchisors and franchisees to run their digital, to make sure that, we've got all this stuff dialed in. And so I'm very, very biased. Now, that being said, if it were just me and I didn't have that support, what would I do, And, so really what I would do is, we kind of earlier in the conversation, we walked through that systematic approach. And that's the right way to do it, on your own. You kind of start posting on social, you kind of get involved in the SEO side, you set up everything yourself. And then, if you really are tight on a budget, you can have Google, and they have some support that's going to help you run your ads. And what you'll find, I've evaluated literally thousands of analytics accounts for different franchisees. And what you'll find is that at the end of the day, there's a couple things that generally will run and bring in the most leads. And that's going to be Google search ads, local service ads, if you have them for your category. And then you'll see a little bit of success from like a Yelp or an Instagram. Now, one thing to keep in mind, it all varies by industry. So that's really, really important, because like in the auto industry, if you're an auto franchisee, you can't do local service ads. If you're in home services, then you can do local service ads. If you're doing a smoothie shop and you're doing something in the health space, then Instagram is a really, really great place to be. And you will generally want to be really high within the map pack, and you want to have people who, also, will want to get directions. But then in addition to that, if you're doing food services and delivery, there's a lot of other networks that you're going to want to be in as well, such as DoorDash and some of these delivery networks. So it is customized by industry. And so I think that's really important. You figure out what you can do, where your customers spend time online. And if you're just getting started, it's a smaller franchise and they don't offer digital support, you kind of have two options. One, you can become a digital marketer yourself, like you did, Tarek. Or on the other end, you can try to hire somebody who's scrappy, or you can, I guess there's a third, which is you can go to an agency. Sometimes, though, the agencies are just kind of too expensive, in order to make it worth it for you. So it can be a little bit of a battle if you don't have that support from corporate, unfortunately. So.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the podcast episode so far. One of the most consistent things that we hear from people that reach out to us is that buying a franchise feels really confusing. There's so many options out there. It's a scary decision. They don't know how to vet or do the due diligence or really narrow down on the right franchise for them. And then they really feel alone in the process. You might be the only one in your family who's ever pursued buying a franchise or being an entrepreneur. Or maybe you've tried to start a side hustle before, or other businesses like me. Like before franchising, I was not able to crack the code on entrepreneurship. I'd like to invite you to reach out and work with us. We've helped many clients buy franchises, get them profitable, or buy resale businesses that are thriving. I'm talking about highly profitable resales, great value. We've allowed many of our clients to actually quit their job right away and replace their income immediately. So if you want to work with me and my team on finding or buying a franchise, doing due diligence, vetting it, or resale, then go ahead and go to tarzjohnson.com/consulting, and we're happy to see if we can help. All right, enjoy the rest of the episode.
You guys, tell us a little bit about your agency, Ignite, who you guys work with, and kind of, you talked about the strategies already, but I guess, who do you guys work with in the space?
Yeah, so we work with Neighborly, which is a really, really big franchise group and an amazing client. Driven Brands would be another example. And we work with different businesses under both of those umbrellas. But those are just a couple. We work with many more.
Just two of like the biggest names in the franchise.
I'm so blessed to be working with them. Amazing clients that we've had for a while and have kind of grown up together in a way, in different respects with the different relationships. But in general, just, really, really amazing companies. And I have so much respect for them. And, what I'm talking about today might not necessarily be their programs because we have other programs as well. So everything's kind of general. But what we like to do with franchisees in general and with Ignite is, make sure they've got dashboards, all the different channels running. And our company is a 10-year-old company. So we've been doing this for a decade now. Started it, 11 years ago, just myself and my puppy next to me, and my amazing business partner, Krish Coffrin. And so we've been at it for a while, but we offer 7 different services here, all the major digital marketing services, and we're about 140 full-time employees and located in La Jolla, which is inside of San Diego. So.
Yeah, wow, congratulations. So 10 years, 140 employees. I mean, that is no joke.
Yeah, it's been so much fun, and I absolutely love what I do. I'm really, really passionate about it. But, what kind of blows my mind about the franchise space is, every once in a while we run into a super franchise who's even bigger than us. It's pretty cool to see how much success you can have if you do franchise operations the right way. So I just love the space. I love helping people in general that have any kind of local element to their business. Just know that space inside and out. So it's a great place to be.
Yeah. And so do you guys work with individual entrepreneurs and franchisees, or only starting at the corporate franchisor level and down?
Yeah. So what we do is generally our program will usually start with a group of 30 individual franchisees. And then we run that program for 3 to 6 months, show results, and then we expand it to the overall franchisee network under a franchisor. That being said, we do run into use cases where we have a super franchise, and it's one just amazing entrepreneur who's been inside of a system or multiple systems and might have 10, 20, 50, 200, individual franchisee locations. And so when that's the case, that is a really, important client that needs to have a customized program. So generally, if anybody has more than 5 locations, that falls into a much more premium offering where you're looking at, social media, you're looking at, paid media, you could have your own email marketing program, and it's much more kind of intense. But what we've been able to do is develop a really nice baseline program so that everybody has access to quality digital marketing and can at least be ranking well on Google, can at least be spending $500 to $1,000 a month, through Google search to make sure that they've got customers coming in, to make sure that they've got a good dashboard so that they can see all the traffic coming in from the different channels and they can understand their cost per acquisition. So that's kind of how we'll approach things.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. And I want to talk about AI in just a minute, because obviously that's a hot topic. But you have a new book out, or maybe not new, I think from 2022, so maybe a year or so now, called Advolutions. Tell us a little bit about what is the book about, and what's the intention of it?
So I wrote Advolution because I saw a huge shift happening inside of the digital marketing industry. It's a paid media focused book, and it has all the latest and greatest strategies for paid media. It'll teach you every single term in paid media. It'll teach you how to set up your creative correctly for paid media. It will teach you how to set up the right model for your business, how to scale it, how not to make any mistakes. So if anybody listening to this really wants to get great at paid media and get inside not just my head, but the head of all of our top paid media experts at Ignite Visibility, Advolution will allow you to do that. So, it's a complicated field, and there's a lot to know. So also in the book, it teaches you how to run your ads by week, by month, by quarter, by year, all the things to look for and how to scale it. So that was kind of the purpose of the book. And, it's been a great hit for anybody who's bored enough to want to learn about paid media, but otherwise it's not a thriller or anything like that. So
sounds like my kind of book. I'm a nerd like that. Yeah, I love learning about marketing now. Just after realizing how important it is, and again, the most successful business owners that I know, they know what their marketing is. They know their numbers. They know their KPIs. And actually, that's a good topic real quick before we hit on AI is, so for business owners, what are some of the KPIs that they need to know? What are some of those numbers in terms of marketing that they should be able to, to spout off, or at least know what their targets are?
Yeah. So, before it would just be leads, right? How many people came in and called you, and how many people came in and filled out your contact form. But the issue is that some of those leads are quality, and so some of them are not, right? So if they come in and they're a lead and they're qualified, we call that an MQL. We call that a marketing qualified lead. If it comes all the way down and your sales team picks up the phone or calls them back and the sales team decides that they're qualified, we call that a sales qualified lead, right? And then the last one is an actual customer. So somebody who signs up for revenue, right? So you have a lead, an MQL, an SQL, or an actual customer. So that's the way to think about all those different phases. And what you want to decide is not how much a lead cost or how much an MQL costs. It is nothing for you, right? You really want to focus on that sales qualified leads, and then you want to focus on your close rate. What does it take to become a customer? So the latest and greatest things are kind of two things. How much does it cost to get a sales qualified lead? We call that a cost per acquisition. So CPA is that. And then also, how much does it cost to get a customer? And the coolest thing in digital that happened in the last year is Meta, so Facebook and Google, they developed systems where you can finally connect a actual sale in your system all the way back to your advertising. And I know people might have said they could do that, but they really couldn't do it before. So now we're seeing this evolution, whether you use like Salesforce or whatever your CRM is, your customer relationship management tool, we are seeing the ability to connect your final sale all the way back to your marketing. And everybody in the industry is kind of going through this evolution to set it up right now. But at the end of the day, the most important term until you get that set up is cost per acquisition, or how much for a cost to acquire a sales qualified lead. And that's what you really want to focus on with each of these channels. And the last point I'll make is, if you go inside of your Google Analytics account, the way it's set up is, there's every single channel. You'll be able to see how much it costs you to get a customer. And that's one of the best places to look. And if you have a Data Studio report, which is a tool that allows you to visualize your data, you can make sure that you have that coming into a nice report that's, in real time for you. So that's what I think everybody wants to get to as the end result. So.
Yeah, good point. And that brings up another question around attribution, because I know one of the things we just started running paid ads, and the attribution is a little bit off. I mean, Facebook's a little bit generous sometimes of, how they attribute either leads or scheduled calls or different things like that. So what are your thoughts on like those third party tracking or attribution softwares, like something like a Hyros or something like that? Is that something that you guys utilize or you feel like is needed in the process?
Yeah, so there's these tools for everybody listening that allow you to hopefully get a better handle on where you're getting business from, right? One is Hyros, is a great tool. And then there's another one called Triple Whale, another great tool. And then there's many other ones as well. And if you don't use those tools, you're going to see inflated data. And you're like, why am I not getting more business? I'm spending money. Facebook's telling me I'm getting leads. Google's telling me I'm getting leads. And the issue is there's a lot of duplication there, and they don't focus on the quality of the lead, because you might have all these spam leads coming in, which is a huge issue with paid social. So like Facebook and stuff, there's a lot of just spam that comes in. They count it as a lead. So Hyros and Triple Whale are good solutions, but they're not perfect, unfortunately. But they are good solutions. And generally what they do, not exactly, but generally what they do is they try to connect all of the user journey. So no matter where they go, make sure that you're getting attribution from the right platform and it's not duplicated. So we do use it for some clients, and there's always kind of an asterisk next to this that it's Hyros data. But the latest thing, which is what the platforms are really pushing, is Facebook, Meta, has something called their Conversions API. So this is brand new. It's just coming out, and it's going to allow you to actually connect your sales to that data. So it won't be vanity metrics anymore. It's a little complicated to set up. We're actually doing an event on it in the next month. And then Google has offline conversion tracking. So in the next year, you'll see this. But Tarek, I will give you major props for using Hyros, because that's a super advanced digital thing. And I do think you will like it. I think it'll be a step for sure in the right direction above just the general metadata. So that's pretty cool. So
yeah, awesome. So let's talk AI. So what are you? There's just so much talk about the AI space right now. You got Chat GPT. I was scrolling through Facebook last night, got hit with an ad that was, oh man, it blew my mind. It was a conversational sales AI. And now that we're talking about it, I bet you're going to get hit with that ad. But it was fascinating. It was this AI tool calls this guy and is saying, "Hey, I saw that you or is this James?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm not interested right now." And he's like, "Oh yeah, no problem. I don't like calls out of the blue either. I just noticed that you were checking out for X, Y, and Z product, but you didn't purchase. And they have this whole dialogue, and there's objections, and it just completely blew my mind. So what are you seeing right now happening in the AI space?
I'm seeing a lot happening. That's so cool. You're using it and checking it out. And I know everybody's really interested in it. And I'm seeing just so many use cases. And I think everybody's just weighing, should we be doing this or should we not? Is it really the right way to service a customer, execute something? Is there any major issues with it? And from what I've seen, there's some really great use cases for doing copy ideation. So if you're trying to create ideas for social media, or you're trying to create ideas for paid media ads, or you want to create 30 different variations of a headline, or you want to do some research, those are really great things you can do. And there's some extensions within OpenAI and ChatGPT-4 that allow you now to connect to the web, that allow you to get into databases and whatnot. So just to take a step back, there's kind of two ways to think about, there's multiple ways, but two main ways to think about AI are images, and then there is a way to think about it for text and research, right? So on the image side, if you want to make images with AI, most people are using Bing Image Creator or Midjourney. They're crazy tools. They make crazy stuff. And if you want to just waste a bunch of time and mess around on the internet, sign up for Midjourney, and you'll be blown away by the stuff in there. So it's a great way to make images for free, but it comes out with some kind of wacky stuff sometimes. But Tarek, what you brought up was some of the conversational sales stuff and the ChatGPT-4. I really think everybody's going to have a ChatGPT-4 assistant. So if you haven't tried it yet, you go to OpenAI, you sign up for ChatGPT, and you basically have somebody working for you. And you can tell this AI system to learn some information about you. So I can tell them I'm a digital marketing expert. Make sure that you respond to everything in a way that would make sense for the service cases that I have, which are digital marketing services, and it just gives you great data. So anyways, I encourage people to try it out and start using it as if you would, almost as if you were like employing somebody to do some tasks for you, and I think you'll find your efficiency increase quite a bit.
That's insane. So what kind of task can it do?
You could ask it to write you an email welcome series, right? And then you would have to review that and make sure that, you put your stamp on it and it's got, human voice. And that I use that for every other use case I'm coming out with. You can ask it to write you 20 Google search ads. You can ask it to write you 10 homepage headlines. Pick the one that you want. You could ask it to write you social media posts, for a year to evaluate. You could ask it to come up with social media contest ideas. You can ask it to research all the messaging of your top 10 competitors, analyze it, and then spit you back what they think the recommendation should be for you to use that would differentiate you, right? So there's like the sky's the limit. I mean, there's so many things you can ask it. That being said, it's not always perfect, and it literally has no value unless you kind of have like an expert on top of it, and but it's a lot of fun. You should try it if you haven't.
Yeah, cool. I think the last kind of conversational thread I'd love to have is, you went from building this company with your co-founder, 10 years ago to now 140 employees. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs out there that, are in the earlier stages of their business? They would love to grow a scalable business where they're not stuck in the day-to-day of it. What have you learned over the last 10 years? What advice would you give them?
Well, definitely learned a lot, and thanks for the question. We're a marketing agency. I've always been really marketing forward, and so one of the things that we've always done is taken at least 10% of our revenue and dedicated it towards marketing. So if we're going up, we keep reinvesting, and for me, that always pushes the business forward. You're always reinvesting in more and more growth. You're always growing the size of the brand. You don't have to worry about is your next customer coming in, because that, you're scaling your marketing as a percentage of revenue. And I guess the only other thing I would say is, business is never easy. It's always a challenge, but for sure the first 2 years are the hardest in my opinion, So, if you're just getting started, you're in year 1, 2, or even 3, or even 4, that's when you're, establishing your baseline, you're getting your systems in place, and it can feel a little chaotic. So the longer you hang in there, the better you get, the more comfortable you're going to be, the more you're going to figure out. And the last thing I would say is, if you're doing anything in your business, there's somebody who can do that better than you in the world. And so, as you're finding that you're getting sucked in an area, always hire somebody way better than you to do it, and then focus on another aspect of your business, which generally for the leader is going to be mostly new business generation, sales and marketing, and then troubleshooting any issues. So that would be my advice for everybody.
And what was the first, I guess, key hire that you made that really allowed you to work on the business and not necessarily in it, and really have someone else take over something?
So that's a great question. And I think that it's a huge mistake for anybody to try to do the back end stuff themselves, because you should be focused more on sales and marketing and growing the business generally. So that when we started, when Chris and I started, I was servicing the clients, and he was working on the sales side, and we mixed a little bit, but also some of that just infrastructure stuff that you need. So we found it really valuable to hire a accounting company to handle all that stuff, all that. And then as we continued, we hired really good service people so that I wasn't too focused in that. So, but I think just like a good rule of thumb is anything you find yourself doing, which either you don't know how to do or it's taking up a lot of your time, that is a really good indicator that you need to put out a job for somebody amazing, who you want to work with. And then you can kind of replicate, yourself over and over and grow from there. So that would be my advice.
Cool. I love it. So we'll drop the links in the channel description for YouTube and on the podcast platforms. But for people that want to either follow you and some of the content that you put out, because you're a social media superstar yourself, you practice what you preach, and maybe want to check out some of your books, where can they do that?
Yeah, if you just do a quick Google search, you'll find pretty much all my stuff there. I'm the most active on LinkedIn and on YouTube, so I'd love to see you guys there, or also on Instagram at John Lincoln Marketing.
Cool, awesome, John. Thanks so much. I learned a bunch in this episode, and really really happy that you came on, and nice chatting with you.
Tarek, thanks for having me today. It was a pleasure. We'll see you soon.
Likewise.